Okay, 20 seconds. 20 seconds. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're live.
Bishop. All right, good evening, everyone. How are you doing? Let me officially welcome you to our broadcast, Hidden in Plain Sight. Good evening to each and every last one of you all. Just want to say hello to our listening audience. That is the Rejoice 904. So hello, hello. Also, if you are watching us and you are here on Facebook, or you are here on YouTube, hello to you all as well. This is BYOB Worldwide, and we want to officially welcome you. I also want to welcome our guest, Dr. Lonnie Reed. Let me officially welcome you to Hidden in Plain Sight broadcast, as well as my colleagues. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and pass the mic, but welcome, and I'm excited to be here with you all this evening.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Craig Bythewood, and I bring greetings to the Rejoice 904 listening audience. Whether you are listening via worldwide international radio or through the Facebook group, I bring you a welcome to our Tuesday afternoon Eastern Standard Time conversation. Wherever you are in the time zone, wherever you are in the world, know that we are so excited to greet you and speak with you today.
Well, if everybody talks at once, I know our audience cannot hear. So let me just go ahead and officially, I know we have a little technology issues, but you know what? We're going to pull through it and we're going to make it happen. So let me just go ahead, and I just want to welcome our guest, Dr. Lonnie Reed. So if you just want to go ahead and tell us just a little bit about yourself as you join our broadcast here this evening.
Okay, my name is, as they stated, Lonnie Reed. In my early life, I grew up on a farm. I had what you might call two mothers. I had my birth mother, and I had the mother that raised me. My mother was a teenage. When my oldest brother was born, she was 15 years old. My mother was never married, and I was her seventh child. She died in childbirth with me. I was highly premature, weighed about 1 pound. And when my foster mother took me, that was what she had to deal with. And it's a miracle because my jaws was too weak to bottle. So we lived on a farm, and she could see how the kerosene lamp worked. You know, it had a base, and there's a reservoir of kerosene that wicked up to the end where the fire was, and would put a globe on the lamp, and it would provide light. She saw that, and she took a rag in the jar in the milk, and a rag in it, and put the rag in my mouth, and the rag and prayed, and voila! And as time passed by, I began to grow strong. So I have so much to be thankful for, and my mother's children have so much to be thankful for. My mother's offsprings, we had through tough and difficult times, we had 5 PhDs, 1 medical doctor. So I am so gracious, and I through high school I played football. I was the most outstanding athlete, and then I had to work hard in college to get a scholarship because I was a walk-on. But nevertheless, 4 years later, I had a degree in engineering. Was invited to a couple of pro camps, but I didn't go because at that time I was married and I was going to be an engineer. So I never sent an application to NASA Glenn Research, Lewis Research Center at the time, but what happened was I sent an application to Madison Air Force Base. They sent my application to Lewis Research Center and they offered me a job. And so that's the beginning of the story with NASA. At that time in '61, they was firing a lot of people, but minorities had, particular blacks, that we had some problems, or I say the NASA had some problems. But one of the things that as I waited to be picked up, be carried to my destination in NASA, came. And at the late hour, the secretary from the directors of, which is one step below center director, he came and they took me to his office. He told me he'd find a place for me. And he told me to go to this gentleman named Mel Hartman and learn all I could. And if I weren't completely satisfied, don't say anything, anybody, just come back to him. I never went back to see him because the people that I worked for, they immediately embraced me. And that was, you know, I just thank God for that. And that is how my career took off. And so that tells the story of how it began. And every job that I was given, I embraced it. I mean, I just embraced it because I had a family and I had, it was up to me to provide for the family. And so that's the story.
Wow, what an outstanding way to come into this world where it was just obvious that you were here for a purpose, that you were here for a reason. So of course, I really am sorry that you lost your mother, but the fact that you were able to be in situations like that where most people wouldn't have made it, you had no choice but to be a survivor. So with that in mind, I'd like to ask this question. We talk a lot about in this movement, I am. We start all of our affirmations with I am. And it's interesting because one of the cliches of our society is we always define a male as not being a rocket scientist. Well, I'm no rocket scientist. Well, he's no rocket scientist. So you happen to be the I am of what the rest of the world is looking as not being. So how has you being able to reach this perceived pinnacle of what it's like to have a career or a designation that we put so much weight on it, how has it been in your life being that I am a rocket scientist?
Well, one of the things, and we hear it a lot, that mindset means everything. And one of the things that I was taught by my foster mother, and I never could get away from it, even though I didn't necessarily agree with what she was telling me, but she always impressed on me that Jesus is the answer to every problem.
Ooh.
It doesn't matter what the problem is. And like I say, I didn't always agree with that, but as I grew older, it became something that I couldn't get away from. And I learned at an early age that if I was going to become something, it was going to be up to me because I didn't, my foster mother told me she did everything for me that she could do, but the rest was going to be up to me. And so I thank God because I always had a desire to achieve something. I didn't know what it was, but I had a desire. And I thought that my football scholarship, ability and scholarship, because I was promised a scholarship to A&T, and they reneged on their promise, so I had no choice but I went into the military. But spent 16 months in South Korea, came out, and walked on at Tennessee State and earned a scholarship. But when I think the biggest thing is when you make a decision, that decision controls you. if you're serious. And so it didn't matter how hard I had to work to play football and be successful in the classroom, because I could get up in the morning and get 3 hours of studying before my 8 o'clock class. In the end of the day, it was difficult because you fighting against these 260-pound people in front of you. But it was just a challenge, and that I've always felt that, you know, I would never give up in anything that I started. And that was just something that was just part of me. And as I later learned, it was really part of my siblings also. Because my brother, who was 5 years older than me, he also, you know, he was raised by the family of his father. And so they didn't want to be associated. They told him, they didn't tell him that he had siblings. And so when he was really disappointed. And so he wound up homeless in New York City. I think he's the first person that I knew that was a graduate of Harvard that didn't finish high school. Wow. But he went in the military, and he studied, he became a photographer, but when he got out of the military, he did school. He was a 26-year-old freshman. And he got a GED in the Army, and he wound up at Harvard. And the first semester at the midterm, he had 2 F's and 2 D's, and he said they called him in and told him, say, look, it was a very short conversation, shape up or ship out. He said, and he told me I had nowhere to ship to. I had taken all the money that I sold my furniture and borrowed as much as I could, and I had no place to go. So he said, I began to study. And to make a long story short, he graduated from Harvard cum laude. Wow. He later studied at Columbia and got a master's degree, and then he went to the University of Chicago. He was an economist in economics, and he studied under Nobel Prize winner Milton Friedman. And if you go on Amazon today and write in the name Thomas Sowell, Sowell, you will see his publications. And he writes about there's a book out, the Odyssey of Tom Sowell, and he tells his story. And I met Tom the first time when I was in the military. So my family has never been in the same room at the same time. We never was all together at one time. So my life, I just give so much thanks to God because of the people that I have met along the way. And at NASA in engineering, I met some of the brilliant people in the world. And also too, being in the field, I was in turbo machinery. I met and was tutored by some of the best people in the field, and some best in the history of the field. And so I learned from other people. And that is my thing was I had the opportunity to learn from people that you know, and if you look at science, it's always, you know, water flows from a high pressure to low pressure. Weather flows from a high pressure to low pressure. Everything transfers. Knowledge flows from from those who have to those who don't. So, being in the presence of people, that's the way you learn, grow, and develop. And I'm so thankful and grateful for this opportunity in BYOB because it almost seems too good to be true that anybody that has an opportunity to participate in a worldwide market that has a chance to become a millionaire just by studying and learning from the people that has built this platform and that trains. So I'm so grateful for for this opportunity.
Wow. It's so inspiring. It's so moving when you look at your accomplishments and you look at what's actually transpired, you know, from the outside looking in. It's just very powerful. And to hear the backstory and what I hear is no excuses. What I hear, I mean, of course I hear the grateful, I hear all of that, but literally no excuses. You made decisions and you made it happen. And you know, I salute you, but I believe we have our colleagues back now. I believe we have our colleagues on, and so I definitely want to give them an opportunity to go ahead and speak. But I'm just grateful to have you here with us today. Hopefully, for to our listening audience, you all are listening to that story, and it should move you. It should push you to, I mean, persistence, consistency, and let's just eliminate all excuses on the path to your success.
Well, I was always told by my foster mother, excuses was like weeds. They grow without cultivation.
Ooh,
Wow.
ooh,
That's
that's
a-
good. That's good. That's good. You'll hear that again. You are muted.
Bishop, are you with us?
He is muted too. Both of you guys. So
Am I muted?
no, no, no. We
Oh,
have
okay.
you. We it's our
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can
no,
hear you now.
no.
Wow, wow, it's great to be on this afternoon. I tell you, uh, uh, Dr. Lonnie, we are so happy that you're with us. I'm excited to meet you today. I heard some interesting thing about you, how that your foster mother who raised you gave you what we call in South Carolina a sugar tip. That was some sugar and some butter in a rag and put it in the baby's mouth and let it melt. And that way they were able to survive. I'm so thankful to hear that your life has been a miracle and that God does miracles and God provides information in our minds. We say the same thing about the platform that we have today, that it was a miracle given to Miss Dyer. And we're just thankful for that miracle and that we have been a part of opportunity to participate in that miracle. And so the scripture that we have today, I think feeds right into what has already been said. And we just want to give it some scriptural background as we proceed this evening.
Yes,
Ms.
so
Dyer, you have the scripture.
I do. We have Proverbs 8 and 12, and it says, "I wisdom dwell with prudence, and find out knowledge of witty inventions."
Yes, Lord, that God gives us the knowledge for witty inventions, and God gives us the knowledge that we need for us to proceed in life. And so many times people look at us and perhaps does not give us credit for the ability that God has put inside of us. And they will try to dismiss the information because it's coming from a source that they are unwilling to recognize that God is gifted. And I'm sure that Dr. Bywood, I heard him say earlier that you set the benchmark high for all of us because often we would all use as an excuse. Now, I'm not a rocket scientist. In other words, I'm not that smart, what people would be saying. And so you set the bar for us intellectually because you're the rocket scientist. And so we're thankful for you today and for the information that you are sharing with us. How people normally receive you when you tell them that you are a rocket scientist? Is that ready to receive from the general public, or is it something that people look at you with doubt?
I don't really, you know, that's one of the things it's only been lately that I really talk about my achievements, and that's because people have told me that I need to, because it can mean so much to people. See, everybody think that, you know, if they don't have somebody to help do this or do that, they don't realize with God, all things are possible. And there will always, if you the Bible says, Jesus says, I will never forsake you. And I've always said, I'm going to take him at his word. And that's what I'm going to do. And if I do what I'm supposed to do, I'm almost, in fact, my false mother told me she spoke like she could guarantee I would be successful. And so and it was only, in fact, it was just a few days ago, the pastor asked me some questions about my life, and I told him, and he insisted that you have to testify in church. I said, I will. Because he talked about there's some people about God favoring people. I said, well, okay, I'll do that. But I do that simply because I want to, glory belongs to God. It don't belong to me. And I am not interested in being famous. I just want to be faithful to the opportunities and to the people and to the lives that I can influence by doing what I do and being who I am.
That is so wonderful. You remind me, you talked about your humble beginnings. You remind me of a gentleman I met while I was in college in Terrell, Texas. And he pastored a small church, and he worked part-time at Terrell State Hospital. And he is given credit for inventing the cell phone and the technology of the thought for somebody keeps trying to call me on my computer and interrupted me. They should be watching the show. And so Dr. Phillips, and they called me on the WhatsApp, Mr. Dyer, so that's one of our people. But I think that Brother Phillips had humble beginnings, and he's given credit for the solar panels that we're dealing with right now. And he, in a meeting in 1990, Ambassador Young invited a group of us to Atlanta, and we talked about how he had invited Brother Phillips over to Atlanta to work at AU University while he worked on this idea that he had to turning sound waves into electricity. And today we're doing the solar panels, but you would see him, he was just a humble guy, and people would not readily believe or give him credit for those ideas and manifesting those ideas. And so it's sort of difficult as we begin to talk to people about the strategy that God gave Miss Dyer, that this little three-step strategy, if you learn how to do it, and if you follow the instructions, you have a 97% opportunity to cash out. And so sometimes people are not readily to receive the information that we try to share with people because of who we are, what we look like, or where we come from. But the scripture today says that God gives us wit and ideas that can be manifested in our lives if we, as you said, if we trust in him and believe him. And so I just want to give opportunity for Mr. Rogers and Dr. Bythewood and Ms. Dyer to give some comments based on what they've heard from you thus far.
Well, I tell you, our Facebook listening audience, Rejoice 904 listening audience, man, I'm just excited to know that God in his sovereignty would allow us to be in fellowship and communion with such amazing intellect. I mean, the mastermind group that we have in, and adding to that, someone literally whose mind has been out of this world, being able to project things of that nature. And it really helps us understand the sovereignty of God, where God says he searches throughout the entire earth looking for someone to show himself strong in, that they may do great exploits. And when I think about the BYOB movement and the velocity and the tenacity which it entails, being able to comprehend beyond our understanding, being able to tap into an industry that literally gives us global insight and intel, and then being able to share with individuals like a Dr. Reid, who as mature, and I get excited when I hear someone of his stature really allowing individuals like us to pour into his life as he led nations with and being inducted in the Hall of Fame, and now we have an opportunity to pour into him, and he's readily receiving. I love what he said, that information is transferred from person to person who's willing to absorb it, and it kind of coincides with what the word. But we are available here to do great exploits. He's given us witty ideas through this movement, and it's being very attracted to individuals. So we're just happy to have Dr. Reid as our guest. And then, just to understand that Proverbs is the book of wisdom, and it's always made reference to wisdom in the feminine aspect. And we have to nurture, we have to take care of it. And so this information that we have to freely give it away to those who are willing to receive it.
So very true. Star?
Oh yeah, because I thought you had asked for all of us to comment on that. So when you're really thinking about, what was said today and the comments about who's willing to receive, who's not willing to receive, the reality is if we want something, then we have to be open. I love the foundation, right? So the foundation that was literally set, by the foster mother, by the parent that was placed in his life to really guide him and cultivate what's already on the inside. And see, that's our responsibility, is we're here to help cultivate what's on the inside. And so what happened is he received it. Had he not received it, then he wouldn't be where he is today. Had it not been received, then those things wouldn't have manifested. And so when you talk about taking that story, that life, that, that past, and understanding, the way forward for other individuals that are listening, the reality is, we have to somewhere make a shift. Because when you look at what we're here to do, we're focused on the education, we're focused on the impact, the empowering. That's what we're here for. And so we have to get away from that. We live in a microwave mentality, right? We live in a world where we want things that are right now. We live in a world where we want things to happen overnight, and that nothing is going to last like that. You look on social media, everybody has the right idea, everybody has, or just in general conversations, we have to stop taking advice from individuals whose lifestyle we don't want. So that really goes back to that statement once again. I like the way it was worded, because we talk about it all the time in that perspective, but it's gonna flow. And so we're it's gonna flow to you, right? The high pressure to the low pressure is gonna flow. So the person with the knowledge is gonna flow. So if the person that's flowing and feeding you, see, we have to be mindful what we're being fed. If the person that's feeding you is not accomplished or not achieving or not walking what you desire, then why are we allowing to feed, and why are we receiving the pressure from them? Why are we receiving education and knowledge and things from them? And so now, can someone is coming from, but it's all about what's on the inside. I'm not talking about what somebody has financially. I'm not talking about that, because it has to happen on the inside of you first. It is an inside out job. And so there has to be some principles that kind of guide you and show you what's going to manifest from that.
One of the things I'd like to say is that I had a high school classmate. We was in the 7th grade all the way through high school together, and he got a scholarship to Bradley University, and he majored in mechanical engineering. Now, one of the things that happened when I was in high school, some people's, because of your background and my parent, they they sort of look down on you. And I was a good student, but I didn't know when they gave the SAT test that information was kept from me. It just shows you how things work, is that And later on, his name was Horace Russell. He had a military career, and he wound up as a brigadier general. And the reason is because he was on the staff that briefed the White House on the events about the military and the status of things. And he was one who normally, when you're in those positions, whenever a new regime comes in, they put new people in, because if you was a Republican and you win, then they're going to bring Republicans in. But he was in through 3 administrations, and the reason is because now he was a full colonel, but because of his comments and because of his understanding, he was from North Carolina. Jesse Helms, who was a Republican, he actually went to the president to get him, because everybody else on that staff was 1, 2, and 3 4-star generals. He was a full colonel, yet he was more influential than any of them. So Jesse Helms went to President Reagan and convinced him to promote him to brigadier general. Now the Air Force actually didn't like that, but it tells you what happens, because people are the way they are. But there is a God that sits high and look low, and He has things for you that nobody can stop you unless you stop yourself. When I was working on my dissertation, I had a lot of responsibilities. First, I was a branch chief, and I had a very, very rigorous dissertation. And anyway, there was a blind guy over in Chanel who was placing people that came in, like let's say the center had promised students from this particular high school that they would allow him they would find an engineer for him to shadow. Well, when the student showed up, nobody would take him. He was a white student named Dave McCloskey. And he calls me, he says, "Look, I have a student and I can't place him. Will you take him?" I said, "Yeah, I'll take him." So I did, and the student came over and, he worked out fine. Then there was a time when there was a professor from Rensselaer Polytech Institute. He had talked to the center director, and he told the center director, "So I can give you 2 top minority students if you will give me you give me the jobs, and they're going to have a job when the summer comes, and they can come here knowing they're going to come to the center knowing they're going to have a job." The center director said yes. The student shows up, the black student shows up, and they couldn't place him anywhere. So the guy calls me again. He said, "I got a student over here. I can't get anybody to place him. Would you take him?" I say, "Yes." The student's name was Alex Gallimore. And then there was a person who went to Tennessee State. His name is Ricky Shine. He went to Tennessee State, and he was in a special program that they worked at. He worked at the summer at the lab, and they were supposed to hire him when he graduated. Well, the branch chief who he was working for, who was in my division, he was section head. He didn't want to hire him. He wanted to hire. There was a white lady who had finished Ohio State. She barely got out. He wanted to hire her. So his boss came to me. My boss came to me and told me, "I got a problem." I said, "What is it?" He said, "Well, Jerry Woods don't want to hire Ricky." I said, "Well, let me take a look at the transcript." So I looked at the transcript. Ricky graduated out of Tennessee State. His grade was better than mine. And so I told him Ricky was the best candidate. Now, to tell you where they are today, Ricky Shine is director of engineering and technology at Glenn Research Center. He has his PhD. Alex Gallimore is dean of engineering at the University of Michigan. And Dave McCloskey, he got his PhD out of Ohio State in aerospace engineering. And the last time I talked with him was when he asked me for letter of recommendation because he was looking for a job, faculty position at Purdue and at North Carolina State. So the point being is that all people really need is an opportunity. And later on, I supported, like Horace Russell wound up, he retired from the military, he was on the faculty at University of Maryland. And the dean, and they had no black faculty in engineering. And the dean told him, well, we just can't find him. He said, I can find him.
Wow, wow, wow.
And he did.
So my question is, I heard what you just said, is all people need is an opportunity. So all we need is an opportunity. So if we need an opportunity, let's, my question to you is, what does BYOB mean to you? When you talk about being, you think about the fact that, I look at your accomplishments, I look at what you've done, I'm listening, to everything that you're saying, some powerful, impactful people, and you happen to be one of them. But yet you're a part of the movement. You are a part of Be Your Own Bank. You're here because of the power and understanding. So talk to me, or talk to our audience about what this movement means to you.
I think this movement means this is an opportunity, for as I'm concerned, that is greater than any I've had at this point in my life. And to have a platform that they have, and to have the vision and commitment that the people in BYOB has, and the quality of the training, if you just do what, if you just willing to learn and spend the time, you have the opportunity. I mean, it is one of the greatest opportunities that you could possibly have in terms of changing the lives, not only your life, but changing the lives of people you know. And so I think that's the big thing. That's why I think this opportunity, and I love it. And I love the people who do this every day. You spend instructing and giving right instruction, and it's so important. And so it means, to me right now, it means everything, because it can impact the life of so many people.
Amen. So,
Well,
Bishop, you asked all of us to comment, and I really would like to.
go ahead, doctor, and comment. We want to hear from you.
So on the radio, we're supposed to be clever and creative. So in giving my thoughts about Dr. Lonnie Reed, I'd like to give my comments a title: Number, Need, and Names. I remember being a youth in the church, and when that deacon or when that pastor would get up and say, I'm just so glad I'm in the number, it just didn't make sense to me. What's the number? But of course, now I understand, because what Dr. Reed is saying to us is, I know the circumstances in which I came to this earth. So I'm just glad I'm in the number. And then when he talked about the BYOB movement and what we're doing, he was expressing, I'm just glad I'm in the number. And when Ms. Dyer asked that question, he expressed again, I'm just glad I'm in the number. But when he expressed to us his stories about the way in which he conducted himself as a mentor, as a coach, he was displaying that he has that same servant heart that we have. Because what was consistent in every single segment of his story was, when there was a need, he stepped up. Someone was in need, he stepped up. A student needed to be placed, he stepped up. A student needed an internship, he stepped up. But the part about Dr. Lonnie Reed that has moved me the most is the names. Because you can tell stories without knowing the exact names. But he knew each person's name, what they were doing, and what they're doing now. And that is such an example of a servant heart. So Dr. Reed, I appreciate you being here today and representing us with number, need, and names.
wow.
Dr. Byfoot, Dr. Byfoot, I agree with you, what you just said, that that the central point in all those individuals that he named, he was a central point because he took advantage of the opportunity he had, because he stepped up and utilized his gifts. His gift made room not only for him, but for all those young men that he mentioned. He was in place. He took that advantage of that opportunity and put himself in place and was ready to serve. And because he was ready to serve, he was able to be a catalyst for those guys who are now successful today. And I think that's what we call paying forward. He utilized his opportunity to bless other people. And that's what I want people to understand about this opportunity we're presenting to folk today, is that it may not be so much that you need it as much as you do, but what you're positioning yourself to be a blessing to someone else. And I think that's so very, very important. And so we want to just, Ms. Dyer, you itching to say something. Go ahead and say it.
I do, because see, when I think about paying it forward, and I think about, you know, you just mentioned paying it forward, and what was on my mind and my heart is right now we have an evolution of currency taking place. And you have to live under a rock for you to not see it or know it, or, you know, you probably, even in the environment that we've had. So we think about the pandemic, we think about how people's lives have changed. And, you know, I'm fortunate enough to live in Florida. So, you know, we're off of lockdown and everything else. But when you really think about the fact that some people around the world are still impacted by this pandemic that same way, where their life is halted. And right now we have an evolution of currency. And when you think about things have evolved over your lifetime, and you think about I'm listening to what you're sharing with us and listening to, you know, the impact that you've had on the world already. You know, you've had global impact. And so right now, you know, you mentioned that this means everything. The movement means everything, which is a powerful statement, especially coming from you, someone who has had global impact already. You know, NASA, Inductee, Hall of Fame, all of this. So now when we look forward with the evolution of currency that we have right now, you know, just, you know, can you speak to, because this movement and where we're headed and where we're going right now, and I know it's going to manifest and happen because, you know, declared and decreed, and we walk on the foundation of who God is, and he is the foundation of this movement. So when we know that, and we know that we'll impact 2 million families, we know we're already having global impact, and we know that there's an evolution of currency taking place, you know, that's why is it that someone, you know, no matter who you are, someone like yourself and Bishop, I'm gonna say everybody need it, not some people, but everybody, right? Because we all need currency, right? We would not have any conversations if money was not a topic that we need. So we need money to just to eat, right? We have to buy the groceries. So when I say that, and I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking about that global impact that we're having, and this movement meaning to you what it does, you know, why is it, you know, because your voice, you know, people hear what you say because of the impact you've already had. And so I just, you know, my question, I guess, is, you know, really about the evolution of currency, why we all need to partake in this movement to understand this evolution that's taking place right now, you know, with the things that you've seen already in your lifetime and the impact you've already had.
Wow. And
Well,
that's powerful. Dr. Reid?
Well, you know, currency is going to always be important because money, it's a measure of value and it's a means of exchange. I mean, so it's going to always be important. And when it starts to change and it's going to change in a way that's going to have a major impact, we need to be part of that, and we need to recognize that it's going to happen. I mean, and like you said, whether we like it or not, it has nothing to do with it. You know, the point is, reality is not optional. I mean, you know, that's where you live. You live in the real world. So reality is not option. So currency is going to change. We should be at the forefront of saying, how is this going to affect us? And we need to embrace it.
Well, I mean,
not an option. I like that.
Yes, and it's not the first time it changed.
I'm getting all kind of quips from Dr. Reid. Dr. Reid, I'm gonna give you credit for the first 3 times, right? Just want you to know. Want you to know. But reality is not an option. That is wow. That is a powerful statement. And man, so Dr. Reed, I'm just like thinking about, you mentioned that you're a man of faith, and obviously being able to take the intellect that you have, understanding the word of God, and then for our listening audience, the time frame in which you came through, and I love what you said, that reality is not an option. And here we are in 2021, and you came through an industry that was not favorable to people of color. But what was it about you that did not allow? And I really want our listening audience to hear this, because sometimes we find ourselves that we will just allow the excuses to be the excuse not to be our best. And can you kind of speak to our listening audience regarding your personal progress, and even when you was exposed to this information, and if you don't mind sharing with our audience where you are from a numerical standpoint, how many revolutions you've been around the earth, and letting everybody know that there's no limit, only the limits that we put on ourselves. Can you kind of speak to that as well?
Okay, yeah, that is so true, and it starts with it starts with a belief in the right mindset. I mean, that's where it's, and as I think Mrs. Dyer says, a lot of time the mindset is 99%. So we have to have a mindset to embrace what is going on in the world and what we see. You know, it doesn't matter whether you like it or not. You know, truth is truth, even if nobody believes it, because truth don't have to qualify for anything. Because and truth comes from the word of God, because if he said it true, it's true, whether you believe it or not. And a lie is a lie if everybody believes it. And so what you really have to do is you have to set your mind on what is achievable, and there's no limitations on what you can achieve if you can set your mind on it. And so, and it doesn't matter whether people like you or whether they don't like you. You know, like I tell people, I don't have any enemies. I might be somebody else's enemy, but that's not my problem. Okay. So, and you have to have that mindset, because, you know, people can distract you. You know, somebody can say something and you go off the deep end, and when really it's almost irrelevant. So, and I think that is the key thing, is that you have to stay focused. And when you're not focused, you know, you don't do the right things. I read a story. There was a guy who was looking at, he was ironing his shirt. He was looking at a football game. And he was so intense in that game because he had some money on it. And so it was so intense, then when the phone rang, instead of picking up the phone and put to his ear, he put the iron to his ear.
Mm.
He went to the doctor and says, how in the world did you burn your ear this bad? And he explained to the doctor what he was doing and what happened. And the doctor said, well, why did you burn the left one? He said, the guy called back. So what it means, if you don't focus, you can make the same mistakes over and over again and never learn. And so if you can learn from your mistakes and focus on what it is that you want, because your desires will control you. And if the desires are honorable and your motives are pure, it will happen. It will happen.
I believe God will give us the desires of our heart. He said he would.
That's
like
what
he
he
said,
said.
if we focus on and have a pure heart, he'll do just that. And Dr. Reed, you are evidence of that today.
And you know,
So I would like to say,
I remain humble, because I have been, you know, I tell people, I said, look, I've been to the outhouse and I've been to the White House, okay, and I've learned to be content. So I'm just so grateful and thankful for the path that that God has showed me and has blessed me. That, you know, because that is the fundamental thing of everything. And one of the things they tell you in the verse of Proverbs today is that wisdom and knowledge is far more important than silver and gold.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It is.
That's it. Dr.
So
Bywood.
I have a question, because part of the topic that we're talking about today is faith and finance, and we're using scripture and we're standing on the word, and that's what this movement is. And it's very, very apparent and very obvious, you know, you stand on that word, and that's what's actually guided your life. And so when we talk about that, can you speak to the importance of us allowing, us being able to walk in faith, but also being able to walk in the blessings that God has for us, because we're here to profit, right? We're here. This movement is about ensuring that we are financially educated, impacted, so we obtain that financial freedom.
Yeah, and I think with faith and finance, my thing is that there's no there is no conflict with faith and finance, because finance is just a necessary thing that you're gonna have to deal with in life. And the more finance you have, the more good that you're able to do and impact in the lives of people. That's so important. I mean, and making an impact and if you impact the life of people, you will impact the world. And so there's no conflict between faith and finance. They go together.
Dr. Bywood.
Yes, I just think I have to say to our listening audience that it is so painfully obvious to me that it's just a matter of time before there's a talk with the rocket scientist. So I'm just going to prepare myself.
Absolutely. All these truth is truth. You believe
Oh, I got notes. I got notes.
I need to warn y'all, because the rocket scientist is he's not smart about everything. A couple of months ago, I got lost in the parking lot. I couldn't find my car.
that one thing you guys created was that little button, panic button. And I don't know about you, when I get in, I can't find mine, I panic. And so I hit that button.
There was a young lady who was I guess she was a security person that drives around to make sure nobody is messing with cars. And I waved her down, and she picked me up. I got in the back seat, and so she kept moving, and so I finally found the car. And I thanked her so much. And then she looked at me like, I sure hope you can find your way home.
Y'all got to answer for that too. If you can remember your address, you can ask that little lady on your phone, she'll get you home.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes, sir.
So I think this is powerful. I have quite a bit of nuggets, and I think that you gave our listening audience quite a bit of insight, nuggets, power this evening. And I really like what you said about impact the life of people, you impact the world, right? If you impact the life of people. And so what that says to me is we are definitely on the right track. We're on the right path. Definitely, because what we declare, our mission statement is financially educating and impacting. And so that's going to happen. And, it's actually manifesting, and it's happening already, with the addition of educators, the book that we wrote, Hidden in Plain Sight, Be Your Own Bank, Hidden in Plain Sight. So when I look at all of that, right, really, and I mean, just think about what you said. And so the knowledge base from that, the truth doesn't have to qualify for anything, or even when you say reality is not an option. And when I really think about those things, and I think about those comments, this is happening right now. This evolution is taking place right now. And so we're not here to convince anybody, but what we are here to do is expose you to information that's life-changing and really impact the lives, your future, and everything else that's taking place. And, I'm very glad to have you as a part of our movement. Be Your Own Bank, global impact, BYOB worldwide. Really excited that you are here with us. And so as we get ready to close out, I'm definitely going to invite you back for a part 2. I know we're coming up on our time. Definitely want to have you back. I know that there was so much value, just hearing your story, so much value in, just over your life and the impact you've had. And so now you can have that same impact and even greater impact around the world. And so are there any final or closing comments that you want to share with our listening audience about, why we need this, or just, why this is so important, and why you decided to be here with us today?
Yeah, but even before I was introduced to this movement, I had purchased a book studying about trading. And so when someone asked me, I was really it was something that I was wanting to do anyway. I just hadn't been able to get around to it, but I was reading about it. But I think that I can't say it enough that this platforms offer something that I don't believe they can find, that's worldwide, that they can find any place else. I just don't see any place else where you have an opportunity, again, to affect the lives of people. And if you can affect the lives of people, you can affect the world. And I just believe that that is the case. And we need to people need to see it, and they need to open their minds to it. The closed mind is when you don't and you need to always be looking forward, because if you don't, you will be highly qualified to live in a world that no longer exists.
Mm. Wow.
Mm.
Wow.
Absolutely amazing. I'm excited about all the knowledge we've gained today and the wisdom that's there. And I'm amazed about that. Well, not surprised, but amazed at how God is consistent in how he works. For you said you bought a book already, and God always go before us. When God wants to do something special, he always prepares a way. And I think you buying that book and you searching, God knew you were searching, and God sent you an answer in Mr. Rogers and Miss Dara and Dr. Bytewood. And so we're thankful that you were open and you were ready to receive and you're ready to bless. Miss Dara, are you ready to close us out?
Oh, absolutely, Bishop. I am. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me first thank our guest. Let's thank him. Let's thank him. Let's thank him. We are talking about Dr. Lonnie Reed. We're talking about worldwide, internationally recognized rocket scientist. And you heard it here, said here today, that most of the time we qualify ourselves out, but you're having a conversation with someone who is qualified. 2016 NASA Hall of Fame inductee. And so you look at this over the tenure, right? We're talking about no excuses. We're talking about you taking control. And all that's required is a shift in your mindset. The only thing that's required is for you to say yes to yourself. And when you go back and watch this replay, I want you to think about the words, the things that were stated, the nuggets that were dropped, and the focus, the persistency, the consistency that was shared here with you all today. Because really, it's about your focus, and it's about you walking and you obtaining what you desire out of life. Also, I want you to go to our website, Be Your Own Bank, BeYourOwnBankMovement.com, BeYourOwnBankMovement.com. Pick up a copy of our book. You can get the Kindle, Amazon, what have you, but pick up a copy. This book we wrote, it was written for you in mind. Definitely want to make sure, send us a message. And also, right, when we're talking about send us a message, I want you to text wealth, right? The word wealth. Text the word wealth. See, when we say text it, that means that wealth is the message that you're sending. The word wealth is the message that you're going to send to 904-567-0634. Send us a text message to wealth if you are looking and ready to accept that challenge to learn how to be your own bank and stop allowing, right? We don't want to allow the evolution of currency and the movement to pass you by. Once again, that number is 904-567-0634. 634. And also, website, beyourownbankmovement.com. You know, you want to reach out today. You want to do it today so we can make sure that you're plugged in this evening, because we have some phenomenal training that's actually going to happen tonight by one of our educators. All right, guys. So with that being said, this has been our broadcast. This has been our week. I'm excited. Thank my colleagues for being here with us. We have worldwide impact where we have things to do and we're going to get it done. And we're looking at you. Just get ready to enroll, get ready to learn, and put yourself in profit, as this is the year of transformation. So let's transform your mindset. Let's transform your lifestyle, and let's just transform your life. So take control, take charge, and get focused. Love you all. I'll see you all back here next week, and this will officially conclude this broadcast.
Encouragement, affirmation, it's the oxygen of the soul. It feeds us. It takes us and gives us hope.
Confidence is in your calendar, baby. Your confidence is in your calendar. Manage your calendar well, and progress comes in.
Focus is power, but you gotta take it. Take it back. Take back that power.
Want to be happy? Build a life, not just a business.
Living that believing life. Out here living that believing life. Every day we living that believing life. Hustle like we living that believing life. Living life, yeah, so we grinding it out. Every single day we be grinding it out. Hustle like we living that believing life. Oh, that believing life. Oh.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and this channel was created to help you overcome the #1 challenge that is holding you back, a lack of belief in yourself. You watch these videos because you know you've got something more inside you. You've got Michael Jordan level genius at something. So today, let's live your best belief life and learn the 10 secrets that, if you apply for the next 7 days, will change your life. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with secret #1. Rest and renew with Robin Sharma.
Every day, work for 5 hours, the 5 great hours concept, and then pull back and have fun, rest, renew. And then every week, take a weekend off. Every month, try to take a week off. Every year, try to take two months off. And the interesting thing is, #1, rest is the elite performer's secret weapon. #2, this is so important. If you want to get more done, take more time off. Because if you're working 24/7 in a linear way versus like a pulse, what starts to happen is you erode and deplete your genius. And in my methodology, I teach the 5 assets of genius, including mental focus, physical energy, 3, personal willpower. But just remember, if all you do is work, you're gonna empty your batteries, you're gonna deplete your well. And that's why the smartest performers, you know, the great athletes, the great industry titans, the great humanitarians, these people all have learned one thing: work in cycles. If you were to look at the great weightlifters of the Olympics, they all had one thing in common, and it was periodization. Periodization. And periodization simply means they worked, they exercised, and then they rested.
Secret #2, use time well with Brendan Burchard.
If I want to be confident, I must feel like I'm capable. If I want to feel capable, I must feel like I'm contributing. I must challenge myself. And as you also heard in previous videos, I had to be honest about my day and my schedule and my life, because I faced the end of my life. You know, I had that car accident as a young man that made me realize life is so short. And I always tell people, if you believe life is short, you probably believe life is precious, right? So you should be grateful for life, right? Well, I tell people all the time, you know where real gratitude shows up?